The question on everybody's lips, mat versus reformer. Which one is better or which one is for you? I get this question asked a lot to me. The answer is it's neither, it's both. Ideally, you want to be doing mat and reformer because there are different elements that come into mat versus reformer and vice versa. So when we do reformer, typically if you have things like lower back injury, you really struggle with position changes, possibly you've got quite weak extremities, so arms and legs, maybe you're just getting into exercise for the first time. If you start in a low-level reformer class, it can be a really nice way to introduce yourself to Pilates. It's low load because you're working against resistance with the springs, so also those with like osteoarthritis, maybe you're not able to do impact sports, so reformer would be a good one because it helps with resistance training, but in a low impact way. And yes, it can be a bit overwhelming and scary when you first see the equipment for the first time. When you start at those low level classes and you understand how the equipment works, how to get on and off, maneuver around the equipment, it's quite easy and also it's fun. The main thing with Pilates and exercise in general is you want to be doing something that you enjoy, because if you don't, it's going to feel like a schlep. It's going to feel like, oh, I gotta go and do that thing. So yes, reformer is amazing for extremity strengthening, arms and legs, beautiful for hip stability, especially for things when we do feet and straps, because you have to really concentrate on dissociating your hip work. So that's like your movement of your legs and your hip joint while stabilizing your pelvis and also your lumbar region. Likewise, it also helps a lot with upper body dissociation. So being able to stabilize lower down while mobilizing your spine, your arms, your shoulders. We do also work with the core in reformer. All Pilates involves the core. However, in general, abdominal work is integrated into our reformer exercises, but I wouldn't say it's like the hero of the reformer classes. So if you're still building up your strength with your abdominals, reformer is lovely because we do spend a lot of time on the back and it helps you to work on your abdominals, but in a little bit on a lower loaded frame. So if you maybe struggle with back pain, it's a nice way to start. However, please don't write off mat. So now, when is mat for you? When is mat better? Like I said, it's neither nor. So it's not that mat is better than reformer or vice versa, but it's more about finding a balance between the two. So mat is a wonderful way to really work on that core and the abdominals. It's also nice to find your foundation. So what I mean by foundation is knowing how to activate your transversus abdominis correctly, which is that corset type muscle, which comes from your spine all the way through, how to integrate it in your core. So that's using your diaphragm, your pelvic floor, your transversus abdominis, your multifidus, which are your back muscles, and having them work all together. The reason why mat is more effective in this way than reformer is because we spend a lot more time on abdominal exercises. In general, there's a lot more that are abdominal focused, and not abdominal exercises per se, but just abdominal focused exercises in the mat. And so it's a lot easier to do it in what we call an offloaded position, so feet down on the mat, and help to train you with the bare bones basics so that you have a good foundation and understanding as you move into the more difficult exercises. In my personal opinion, mat is much harder. A lot of people think that reformer is more difficult because there is this machine and there's changes and there's springs and it seems more complicated. But the exercises themselves and the fact that on mat you are working against gravity, that it's just you and your body, there's no way to hide. And it's not to say don't do it, but you need to know that it is going to be a little bit more challenging. Some people find it easier. I don't know who those people are, but some people do. The reformer has the assistance from the springs, and that's also why sometimes reformer can be a little bit more forgiving in terms of injuries, and it's very specific to certain types of injuries, but it can be more forgiving because you can adjust the springs to accommodate your body. So maybe if you've got a shoulder injury and they're doing arm work, you just go to a lighter spring. Likewise, if maybe we are doing leg work and you've had a recent running injury, then you would go to lighter springs or possibly heavier springs, because sometimes the heavier springs can help to offload the exercise. Please ask your instructor. But it is a nice way to adapt. Mat, we can also adapt. We have all of these wonderful props that we can use to adapt, like small balls and blocks and wedges. So if you do have injuries, it's not to say that you can't do mat. In my personal opinion, having a good balance of both is the best thing to do, because you have the fun and creativity and wow of the reformer, as well as the extremity work and full body integration. And then you've got the full body weight bearing resistance, the gravity resistance, learning how to move your body in functional movements on the mat. And having those together is the best of both worlds, because you get this full integration. But if you're not sure, what do I do? Try whichever one interests you the most. Try it, see how it goes, and then once you start to fall in love with Pilates, because we know that you will, then start trying on the other apparatus. So either going from reformer to mat or mat to reformer. We have our raised mats, which are really nice, because if you have knee, back injuries and you find it difficult getting on and off the floor, you don't have to, because you're raised on a raised surface. Regardless of where you decide to start, just knowing that you need to start at a foundation level, so you can learn and understand the basics of your body, how to use the equipment if you are doing the reformer. I always say, you got to learn how a car works before you can drive it. It's the same thing with reformer. You might have been doing Pilates mat for years, but you need to understand how the reformer works before you can move up in levels. You might progress super quickly. To find out what is best for you, why don't you book a class with us? You can book either level 0 reformer, level 0 mat, and like, comment, subscribe, and give us a little comment and feedback below. Let us know which one's yours favorite. Maybe if you're planning on trying the other, we always love to hear.